Hello everyone, Pulse here and welcome to another episode of Delving Deep ESO. Now in this episode I wanted to talk a bit about my experiences with third person and first person perspective in Elder Scrolls Online. And of course I'm going to have some gameplay from the most recent beta event running in the background. In particular I'm going to have the two-handed sword gameplay completely done in first person, mainly because you guys have seen third person before and it was a lot of fun doing this, to be completely honest with you. So to start, let's talk about how the different styles of gameplay kind of work out, how they play. Well, third person, to be very clear and upfront with you guys, it's the most efficient way to play. It just is. It makes sense logically, and it proves to work out better than first person in practice as well. That extra situational awareness is just too great of a bonus to pass up in the way that this game is made. They've stuck to MMO convention a little bit hard, and for that reason, when they issue tougher opponents and tougher encounters and things like that, it's very MMO-esque. And therefore they push the situational awareness part of the game pretty hard. So being in third person gives you a pretty clear advantage over first person. Now luckily, third person combat in Elder Scrolls Online is still pretty damn fun and engaging, and I have to admit that it was a little bit better of an experience than a typical MMOs, mainly because of the way that they handled the camera in this game, which I have to give props to, mostly because what happens is in the environment, if you happen to pass by a temple wall or you're in a dungeon-esque locale, the camera doesn't spaz out all crazy. It zooms in to the point where it's just behind your character, as you would expect it to do, but if you actually get too close, it'll even put you in first person as well, and it'll just very easily transition between these two perspectives when stuff is a little bit close and kind of tight and confined. And because of this, I felt like it worked out all right in the end. I didn't ever feel like I needed to zoom way out. I was very engaged in the combat because you have to watch the enemy's tails and the environment in general, and then the way that it just seemingly zoomed the camera in and out, it worked out really well. And I mean, I have to admit that I wish that Zenimax had opted to actually build a first-person only MMO. I really do. If they weren't going to do that, then at least do first-person and like a very limited third-person, almost action-oriented game, kind of camera angles and stuff like that. This way, you would be required to stay engaged with your character and the very confined space that would be your surroundings. I mean, hopefully in the future, companies will take that risk. I mean, I know that it would kind of be like MMO sacrilege to remove that extra space to view around your character and stuff like that, but to be completely honest, I mean, if they had more area to look at, just a quick example is that they could get away from typical MMO mechanics and stuff, because you wouldn't be sitting there watching the whole screen and the whole world from having your camera way out. You'd have to pay attention on a much more personal level, but I kind of digress. Again, hopefully that'll be something we see. But onto the actual experiences here. The third person, as expected, it is easily the preferred and more efficient method, honestly. It really is, but that's to be expected, honestly. It really is the most efficient way to play. First person, however, is a lot of damn fun. It really is. I tried it before, a couple different times actually, most notably with the bow and with the staff, and it just, something about it just didn't do it for me. It didn't quite gel with the way that I played, and I kind of come to realize now that that's mostly due to the soft lock system, and maybe it just rubs me the wrong way. And the reason I say that is because I've seen some videos, most notably the Shoddycast put one out very recently that shows them using the bow, and that looked like a lot of fun, and he looked like he was enjoying it a lot. And I know Force uses the bow in his, and I think that's just most of personal kind of taste thing. But because of that, I had stayed away from it for the most part. So I'm really glad that, I don't know really why, but I felt the need to switch over to first person, and I swapped into the two-handed sword that you see going on in the background, and it was a ton of damn fun. Easily one of the highlights from my most recent beta experience. Something about slinging the spells around and charging in from afar and then smashing the hell out of your opponent is just really exhilarating when it's all happening right in front of your face in that first person perspective. Just, again, major highlight from my latest beta experience, and it kind of fills me with both joy and also sadness. Now, the reason I say this is that I'm very happy with the way first person turned out in this game. I really am, and I'm glad that it made it into the game in general. It's really, really fun, and I really had a lot of good times with it. But it's a different experience from third person in a big way, for sure. Easily adds to that sense of immersion. However, on the flip side, I'm happy, but I'm also saddened by the notion that ESO was just this close to being something truly brilliant and one of a kind. And what I mean by that is that, I mean, just think about it for just a quick moment. How many first-person fantasy MMOs are there? Name them, because I can't. If there are any, they're very, very small indie games. There's definitely not been a AAA fantasy MMO. There would not have ever been one. This would have been the first. And the reason I'm sad is because it plays really well in first person. And if they had committed, like I said earlier, if they had committed to a first person only or like a very limited third person view, I think ESO would have been a better game for it. I really, really do. They could have had a little bit more leeway with how they deal with encounters, because they wouldn't have to rely so heavily on the MMO mechanics of old school design, which really push the kind of situational awareness. They could have done some other innovative things there that would promote using the up close camera angles and stuff like that. And again, I feel like they work very well how they are now, but if they had committed fully, I kind of get the sense that ESO would have been a much better game. But, you know, I guess, again, in the end, I'm very happy with the way this turns out. Third person delivers a pretty typical MMO experience, but is still a lot of fun, most notably because of the skill system implemented and the hectic battle style, which is kind of refreshing. It's similar, I would say, it's kind of like Guild Wars 2 in the way that it's this kind of, at least the attempted controlled chaos. However, because there is a more Trinity style setup here, it's not a very hard Trinity like WoW or anything like that, but it still exists, so it's a little bit more controlled than, say, Guild Wars, and I feel like it works better here. It really, really does. And then obviously the first person is just something completely different from the third person when it comes to combat. Especially, it really emulates the first person experiences of prior test games pretty damn well, and it has this added layer of combat with the new skill bar that you have available. Really, really fun. Really, really one of the highlights from my most recent gameplay session. And I would have to admit that the first person was actually more fun than the third, despite my kind of MMO background. I kind of hope, in fact, that some guilds out there, maybe you have to use add-ons to make sure nobody cheats, but have a guild that is 100% first person only. I mean, that's pretty bonkers, I know, but I can see it happening, and I would love to hear stories of like world first person only guild taking down a boss or something like that. That would be really, really cool if that kind of stuff happens with ESO, especially because, again, it's a very MMO mechanic driven game by pushing the situational awareness angle of combat kind of to the extremes. That's really how they challenge you in MMOs these days. But you know what, I think that's going to do it for me on this one. Again, I'm really happy with the way both forms of perspective turned out in ESO, but I want to know what you guys think. Are you going to use one exclusively over the other? Are you first person only, third person only? Maybe you'll switch in between them depending on your mood. Maybe you're just too hardcore to even think that the other one exists. Like, are you too MMO to even recognize that first person is in the game? And I can see this being a thing. Like, people will be in their third person, like, super I'm an elitist whatever mood, and every time that the camera goes into first person because they messed up their own camera, they'll be like, oh, this game is broken, it's a piece of shit, that kind of thing. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the different perspectives in the game, and most importantly, like, how did you have fun with them? Did you find one preferable over the other, that kind of thing? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, comment down below. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and make sure to stay tuned to Noble Post Gaming for more ESO gameplay and discussion for sure. There's definitely a lot more coming. Since the NDA is lifted, I can talk a lot more about the game that I have played. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.